While I'm in the middle of turning my garage into a workshop, I decided to do something a bit more fun and crafty that would also let me test drive my new table saw. So I decided to make a sign for my workshop, something that reflects my personality as well as the way that I work. You see, I like to reuse things, and I have a whole box full of various tissue papers, bits of wood, all sorts that I've saved over the years, and I use them to make other things. So I bought some letters and I got to work. These are just basic MDF letters you can buy at any craft store for just a few pounds. The first thing I did was to paint them white. I had some leftover chalk paint that I'd used on another project, but it was a little thick, so I watered it down a bit to get it to the right consistency. For painting, I used a small but sturdy brush to get into all the little nooks and crannies, and I put a good coat on it as well. As it's chalk paint, it dried very quickly, so I only needed to paint one coat on each of these letters, but if you want to have the paint as a final finish, I would suggest you do a second coat. Once they were all painted and dried, it was time for the decoupage. I used Mod Podge in a matte finish as I didn't want the light reflecting off the sign once it was done. I selected a different tissue paper for each letter just to give it a bit of a patchwork, shabby chic look. I spread an even layer of glue onto one face of each letter and then gently pressed the paper down, smoothing out any wrinkles. I only put the paper on the front face of each letter as I wanted the white to show on all the edges. This would give it the shabby chic feel. When all the glue had dried, I trimmed the excess off on the insides with a scalpel to ensure precision, and then sanded the paper on the outside edges for that shabby chic look I mentioned. This is a quick and easy way to trim the edges, and sandpaper or an old nail file will do the job very well. But then I painted a coat of matte Mod Podge over the top to seal the edges of the paper down. I forgot to sand and trim the Y when I took this picture. Next, it was on to placing the letters on a board. I used an offcut of plywood I had left over and tested different layouts. It took a while to decide, as this was going to be behind me on future videos, so I wanted it to look just right. But eventually I made a decision, and so it was time to measure up. I liked the height of the board, so I measured the height of each of the letters, multiplied by 3 rows, and subtracted it from the total length. This gave me a measurement of the space for the gaps between the letters. I then subtracted 25mm from the top and the bottom, and then divided the leftover between the 2 gaps. Once this was all measured out, I used tape to keep my marks, but don't worry, I rubbed all the pencil lines out before I stuck the letters down, as when I realised I wouldn't be able to actually get to them afterwards. It's worth taking your time with these steps, as it is so easy to make a mistake if you're rushing, like here, when I put the tape above the line instead of below it, and that would have ended up with it looking very top heavy. But once that mistake was rectified, I finished taping off, checked one more time, and then started sticking the letters down. I used a hot glue gun to secure the letters to the plywood, as they're very lightweight and this won't be getting moved around a lot. When that was done and the letters were in place, I removed the tape and began measuring the length I wanted my board to be and marked it up. And then it was over to the table saw to trim away the excess. I started by adjusting the height of the blade to a hair taller than the thickness of the plywood, and adjusted the fence, and then started cutting. checked the cut was straight and smooth and sanded the edges. The final thing to do was to finish the wood to protect it. So I used a clear spray varnish top coat, another thing left over from a previous project. I left it overnight and then did another coat the next day. And here it is. Simple, a little quirky, but very me. Check out my other videos and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Take care.